Welcome to Here Come the Details, a podcast show with Josh FADEM. This week, Josh sits down with the renowned sketch comedian, writer, director Michael Ian Black to conversate about conversation over a cup of hot tea. Please enjoy.
Michael Ian Black, who's enjoying is that a scone or a croissant?
Scone.
It's a scone. Maybe he's not enjoying it, I don't know.
No, it's a nice scone.
Yeah, it's a nice scone.
You're not going to ask me about the tea?
Well, I was going to get there, but I wanted to focus on the scone first.
All right.
So it's a nice scone. Looks like it's got some blueberries or some dried fruit in it.
We're just never going to talk about the tea?
I'm going to get to the tea. I mean, do you really want to talk about tea now?
Let's talk about the scone.
Okay, so that scone, it's dry looking to me.
It is dry. Every scone is dry.
Yeah, a moist scone is a wrong scone, is what.
That's right, but sometimes you want that.
Do you want to get to the tea?
I would.
Okay, let's get to that tea. Now,
I'm going to, and we'll get it in the most natural way by dipping the scone into the tea.
I see. So that moistens the scone up. That's the point of the scone and the tea or coffee, if that's your choice. I drank a lot of coffee, so I can just feel that jittering coming in there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how's this going with the tea?
You're ever in Tulsa? Come to this fucking place.
Chimera. That's what it's called. This fucking place called Chimera.
Come to this fucking place, get some tea, scone. Be delighted you did.
What kind of tea did you get?
Irish breakfast.
Irish breakfast.
The tea of the Irish.
Irish breakfast. Did you have an Irish bar mitzvah?
Yeah, it was crazy. All pork.
All redheads?
Redheads, pork, and Guinness.
What's an Irishman saying Shema Yisrael? I can't do an Irish accent. Can you do an Irish accent? Shema.
Can you do an Irish accent? Can I
Irish?
do an Irish accent? Not really. I mean, I'm not very good at doing anything.
Really? Accent-wise?
No.
Nothing. I disagree with that. You're not fishing for compliments, are you?
I mean, here's what somebody called me. I write a lot. I have a Substack, and I write most days. And somebody referred to me the other day as a generalist. And I thought, well, that's what I am. Not particularly great at anything, but I refer to myself in the more denigrating word, dilettante. But I like generalist. And you sort of like, oh, I know a little bit about this and a little bit about that. And if you got a microwave oven, maybe I can help you fix it, that sort of thing. But let's not get too complicated with it.
I always think of you as like very eloquent, you know, like erudite. I know would you say that's a persona?
It's a great question. Can one adopt a persona of erudition? I would say probably not. It would be difficult, right?
I think no. I think you can. I think that probably if you look at like a William F. Buckley or you look at like
I see.
Dow or
Right.
that. I watched that documentary about them. You know, they're both sorts of talking like this. So there's no way that they were born like
right.
Probably there's a little, you know, their family put it in, but you know that sort of persona where we're discussing this.
Yes, there's a haughtiness that they wear like an overcoat. I don't think I do that. Maybe I do. I don't know. I certainly wear a scarf
I'm wearing this
when
scarf.
I don't need to. Because I like
the
the pretension aspect of it.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think that's persona, or you think that's something that you like?
I like flounciness.
Flouncy.
I've always liked, you know that comedian Chris Fleming, the flounciest comedian in the world?
Yes, he does videos.
Oh, is he flouncy?
See, that you know the word flouncy, and this isn't a knock on vocabulary.
Seems like it might be.
Well, it's not.
Just because we're in Tulsa, we don't have to flaunt our ignorance.
Do I seem like I'm flaunting my ignorance?
Well, I mean, you're coming after me for having the vocabulary of an 8th grader. Yeah, it seemed a little aggressive.
Flouncy.
I had never heard that word before till now.
But look at you.
I know.
When you came here, were you like, I'm going to wear my persona, or I'm just going to be myself?
I didn't think anything. I didn't even know what this was.
It's not an interview. It's a discussion.
Is there a topic of discussion?
I was thinking discussion.
As the topic?
Yeah,
Okay.
discussion. Or conversation.
Fine. What about dialogue and or dialectic?
I think it's conversation.
Okay,
actually.
great.
We're discussing conversation.
Great.
I'm a big fan of Terry Gross, and I like your interview with Terry Gross.
Oh, thank you.
And you seemed very prepared. And I know that you got a couple podcasts. You still do that one where you interview people?
No.
You do one about book club?
You want what?
Book club?
Oh, yeah, I've got a book club. I don't even call it a book club.
Obscure?
Mm-hmm. I have a podcast called Obscure. It's titled that because it's obscure, because nobody wants to listen to it on purpose. The premise is I read a work of classic literature that I've never read.
Erudite?
That I've never read and have no interest in reading out loud and comment on it as I go.
Oh, I didn't listen to that.
Yeah.
Does it have a big following?
No. Why would it have a big following?
Maybe got fandom or something like that?
I mean, we have a small and mighty band of listeners, most of whom I suspect subscribed to the podcast at one point and then forgot they subscribed and haven't listened in years. That would be my guess.
Yes.
But I'm still cranking them out there.
Because it feels good.
No.
You don't even like doing it.
It's an obligation. It's an albatross on my neck. It costs me money. Mm-hmm. Nobody's listening.
Okay.
And I derive no enjoyment from it.
Okay.
I'll probably keep doing it.
Did you like any of the pieces of classic literature?
So we've read 4. Thomas Hardy's Jude the Obscure.
Okay.
Obscure. Loved it. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Piece of shit.
I've heard that one.
Ugh, piece of shit.
What'd you think of the movie?
Which one? There's a million of them.
Any of them?
I've never seen a Frankenstein movie.
Well, the one that's called Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with Julia Roberts.
Didn't see that one.
It's called Mary Riley, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Mary Riley.
Mary Riley.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
What about Kenneth Branagh? Did you watch that one?
No.
Are you a movie person?
I mean, I've seen movies.
But do you like them? Are you like, I'm seeking them out like I'm seeking out this classic literature?
No.
I'm leaning in the microphone, but this microphone picks me up, but I feel like I got to lean in right here.
I feel like for somebody whose business is entertainment, I should be more invested in popular culture than I am.
Yeah.
I don't care.
You don't care.
Do you?
I like movies.
It's screener season now, so you get all the, it used to be DVDs, now you just get digital screeners of all the movies that the movie companies want to put out for award season. I used to get all excited about it. Now I'm just like, I don't care.
That could be just like the way that things have changed and the stuff isn't as good or stuff isn't exciting.
I like to think that the product is as good as it's ever been, maybe better. It's just that I'm fading into the darkness.
Personally or?
No, spiritually, emotionally, physically.
Yeah.
The tea is restorative, though. I will grant it that. I feel like I'm coming back into the light a little.
What's the experience of having the Irish breakfast tea? The oy vey, it's Irish breakfast tea. Oy, there's a little schmutz on me tea bag. The Lucky Charms are that my Torah portion. Do you remember your Torah portion?
I didn't get bar mitzvahed.
You didn't?
No, and I'll tell you why.
Okay. And I know your last name was originally Schwartz.
Yeah.
Is that right? You mind if I say that?
No, I mean,
it's common knowledge. It was on your IMDb trivia.
not only that, the Nazis on Twitter used to ask me about it all the time.
Oh my
gosh, they love to talk. That was their favorite topic of conversation.
You're like, you're a Schwartz, aren't you?
Yeah, why'd you change your name, Schwartz? Hey, Schwartz, why'd you change your name there, Shakespeare? Hey, Shakespeare.
Are you still on Twitter?
No. There was a
Bar mitzvah.
question.
Bar mitzvah.
Oh, because...
Even though this isn't an interview, we're having a conversation. Discussion.
I would hope in any conversation, the two or more parties involved do ask each other questions because it indicates a curiosity and an empathy and a sensitivity to the person sitting across from you. Of course,
that's what you said at the beginning of the Terry Gross discussion.
What did I say?
You said what you just said. It's sort of like an understood or like a tacit, and I'm paraphrasing, so if I misquote you.
Well, yeah, I won't know if you misquote me.
You remember?
No.
It was like probably 6 years ago or something like that. You said something like it indicates a curiosity and like the person asking questions is interested. And then you interviewed Terry Gross, and Terry Gross is like, it shows that they're interested and stuff like that. I did come up with some questions here, but I was thinking, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
And like we've established a dynamic.
That's right.
Anyway, your bar mitzvah.
My
I'm curious.
mother asked me if I wanted to be bar mitzvahed, and we hadn't really had any formal religious education to that point. And my understanding of the bar mitzvah was that I would go to Hebrew school for however long I went, at the end of which there would be a party and I would get money. And I thought, well, that sounds great, but I don't want to do it because I don't want to be a hypocrite about it. Because I don't want to go into it just for the financial reward. If I'm going to do this, I want to do it because I'm rooted in this faith to which I did not feel rooted in that moment. And so I declined the offer of a bar mitzvah. My mother did not get bat mitzvahed until she was, I want to say, in her early 60s, and she went to Israel and got bat mitzvahed.
Do you feel more rooted in the faith now?
No, but I don't feel more rooted in the faith. Well, I feel profoundly Jewish. And
yes.
I feel profound, I think it's a hard thing for non-Jews to understand, even though Jews never shut up about it.
We're trying to make them understand.
Yes, we are, and we're doing a piss-poor job of it.
Communication.
You feel Jewish sort of into your DNA, and that is because we are a distinct ethnic group. because Jews spent the last, 1,000 years or longer not intermarrying. And so if I do a genealogical search for my search, spit in a cup and send it up, it's going to come back and it has 99.9% Ashkenazi Jew because it's an ethnicity. It doesn't mean you're necessarily tied to the religious part of it. That being said, I very much respect the religious part of it. It's just not a part of my daily life.
My parents did the DNA test, the spit DNA test, and I think they found they are cousins. And that's probably pretty normal.
Yeah, I think you and I are probably first cousins. We may even be closer than that.
Maybe. I think there's some Cohens way back there in my lineage. I don't know where the Schwartzes are. What are the other Jewish names?
Rivkin was my mother's maiden name. Abrams.
Is that a big deal to you when you're like, if we found out we were cousins, would you like, we're cousins? Or would you be like, whatever?
How would it affect our lives, do you think?
I just think that's neat.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be nonplussed.
Right.
Maybe I'd be like, you know what, we're related. Maybe we should be in touch more.
That's the thing that would frighten me.
Because I'd want to be in touch
Yeah.
with you more? Yeah.
That's the part where I'd be like, Josh, just because we're cousins doesn't mean we have to hang out.
We both work in comedy.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
actors. And don't you want to hang out, talk about our experience?
Yeah.
Talk about our life?
I'd rather do that as friends rather than cousins.
Okay, so it's friends.
I'm so busy right now. I would love to, but
You have time to hang out as friends?
Yeah, I would love to. Just, I'm cramped.
I'm coming to Savannah. Is that where you live?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Oh, are you? You should come stay with us. When are you going to be there?
I haven't booked my ticket yet.
Okay, let us
Yeah.
know.
For real. So we're friends, and so maybe I should.
Let us know.
I don't have your contact info.
I'll make sure you get it.
Okay, great. How come you moved to Savannah?
When the pandemic happened, showbiz shut down. My kids were graduating high school. I wasn't working. The house that I built in Connecticut with my wife suddenly became unaffordable while the real estate market was going crazy. So it's like all these sort of events came together. I was like, fuck it, let's go somewhere. So we chose Savannah.
During the pandemic, I got my COVID shot in Savannah.
Oh.
Because I was in Georgia for that year. When the shots came out, there were like shots in Savannah. Drove to Savannah to get the shot. So were you there then?
Yes.
You
No.
could have gotten the shots.
It's possible. It's possible I was there then. If you had called me up, cousin,
Discuss comedy and life experience. And
I would
things
have
like
loved that.
Yeah,
I
that
was
was-
social distancing at the time. So
I was too.
Yeah, so.
What's like the vibe in Savannah? Like, what's it like there?
The vibe in Savannah is,
Kind of a, I don't know the word, maybe you know it, flouncy, but you know that Clint Eastwood movie, In the Garden of Good and Evil?
I'm trying to remember who he asked what Savannah is like.
I guess that kind of answers it.
Not really. That was an answer. He gave you an answer.
Okay, yeah.
What was your take?
Have you ever seen the movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil?
I've heard the title a million times,
Yeah,
but
it's
I
like
have
that.
no idea what it is.
It's like that.
A movie you know the title, but you've never seen.
I've never seen it.
Because he's not a movie guy.
It's probably a pretty good movie. I never watched it.
Directed by Clint Eastwood.
Sure was.
Academy Award winner Kevin Spacey in a flashy role. It bombed.
Yeah, it didn't do very well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently the movie's not very good, but book's supposed to be terrific. But you can walk around Savannah, go to the guy's house. There was a murder there in Savannah, and the guy's house is right there, very prominent Savannian, and it's a gorgeous town. Warm, welcoming, touristy, good restaurants, good atmosphere, a good walking town if you like to wander around.
It's pretty.
One of America's prettiest cities, I would say.
So you're done with Connecticut.
Yeah, I moved.
You don't want anything to do with it.
It wasn't a bad breakup. It was a mutual decision. I would say we dumped Connecticut more than Connecticut dumped us. Is that just my pride talking? Maybe.
So don't bring up Connecticut.
You just did.
No,
You
I'm
literally
telling
just-
myself now, don't bring
oh,
up Connecticut. What else did I write down here that I want to talk about?
What was the first question?
Well, the first question was just like, Tulsa, you like it? Blue Whale. You were here for Blue Whale. You think a discussion is different from a conversation?
Yeah, a discussion is more focused. A discussion generally revolves around a topic. Today, we're going to discuss X. A conversation tends to be more organic and free-flowing. We had a conversation, and the topic turned to X.
X, formerly known as Twitter.
That's right, which we have, in fact, discussed.
I deactivated it as well. Mm-hmm. So did you go to Threads and Blue Sky?
I'm Blueski.
Blueski, that sounds like a good Jewish name.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, it's Blueski now.
Why is it so smoky in here? Is
Does
this
we got
all,
a smoke machine? Want to hit it?
as a podcast, why do you feel like you need a smoke machine?
It's just smoke and mirrors, you know, dressing it up. In case I freeze up, because I'm not an interviewer.
Clearly.
I'm a discusser.
You're a conversationalist.
I like having conversation, which is why I wanted to talk about. But you had an interview podcast, and you were a prepared interviewer. When you did that interview podcast, did you think you were wearing your persona for that, or were you like, I'm dialing it down and I'm asking the questions?
I'm just trying to be myself, asking questions. I'm a curious fella.
Do you like this smoke here? It's atmospheric.
It is atmospheric. You're more obscured at this point than I am. It may eventually drift over here, and I think that's good for your persona. You're the inquisitor, and I like that you're surrounded by fog, smoke. Your miasma is slowly entering my space, and now I am subjected to it.
Subjected to it. But you did come here on your own volition.
Somebody asked, and I was like, I know Josh.
That was nice.
Did you guys ever hang out back in the day?
No.
Not really.
We did a couple shows together. Oh, I got a question for you. You don't. I did also hear you say in an interview that you're like kind of block it out. You don't want to hear people say, "Oh, I really love this thing. I really like it." You don't go. It gets in the way.
I'm happy to hear it. I don't block it, but it doesn't mean anything to me.
Like you don't need it.
No.
You're already there.
I mean, you, meaning one, stranger, not saying you're a stranger,
Sure.
coming up
I'll
and
play the
saying,
stranger.
hey, I loved you on whatever.
Hey, I loved you on.
Okay, cool. It's not going to affect my life in any way.
Right.
But I understand that for that person, it's a way to connect with somebody that they enjoy, and they enjoy their work, and they want to tell them that. And so the only way to meet that is with graciousness. How else could you possibly meet it other than with graciousness? But like, it's not penetrating. It's not making me feel any better about myself.
Did you always feel that way, or was there a time where you're like, I need it, I want it? No.
The only time that it was novel was when it first started happening, when very beginning of my career.
MTV?
And on MTV, but, I was like 21 years old. So at that point, if somebody compliments me, all I'm thinking is, will this person sleep with me?
Right.
That's really all I'm thinking about.
Right.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, it does mean something. Like I'm on this new show, Have I Got News for You? It's on CNN, and it's a new show, and I like the show, and I would like the show to remain on the air. So now, when people come up to me and they say, oh, we're really enjoying Have I Got News for You, to me that's lovely, just because it indicates to me, oh God, I might have a job next year. So that I do like.
And you won't have to do the road and go to Tulsa.
That's right. The longer the CNN show stays on, the more likely it is that I'll be invited back to Tulsa.
But I think you've got an open invitation anytime. Did you rent a car, or did you...
I did rent a car.
You're going to Oklahoma City tomorrow?
Right after this. Heading over to OKC.
Okay, so you've been there before?
Yeah.
This is kind of a silly question. It's a platonic question coming at you as a friend, but you don't age. You're a very attractive guy. Does that come up a lot?
That I don't age?
You look great.
You don't age.
You look great, Michael. Does that affect you? Is that something that you feel gracious about? Does that make you feel good? Or is it the same as, I really, really am a big fan of your comedy?
Do you want the honest answer?
Yes, I do. Or the joke answer. Well, give me the honest first, then give me the joke.
The honest answer is, not only have I never thought of myself as an attractive man, I've never thought of myself as an unattractive man, but I've certainly never thought of myself as an attractive man. So while I'm grateful that I still look more or less like myself, I've never thought of myself as particularly good looking.
I always think about how sometimes some comedians, they kind of want to be rock stars, and some rock stars want to be comedians and stuff, and there's vanity in both, and there's vanity in putting, it's not to say that's not to knock the drive of performing. I'm a performer. If I'm putting on some weight and I don't feel good about myself, it's harder for me to get out there, I feel, but if it's like, I feel more myself, it's not about attractiveness. You know what I'm saying?
I have terrible vanity. One of the reasons that I'm able to sort of keep the weight off is because of my body dysmorphia and vanity.
What's the body dysmorphia like?
If I put on 5 pounds, I think I'm fat.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, and I got to starve myself for 8 months. I'll go through periods where I'm just not eating enough.
I had that happen recently where I did a blood test at the doctor and the A1C was too high, and they said, you're pre-diabetic. So I had to cut out all sugar because I was leaning on cookies, scones, ice cream, all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know very much what you mean.
Because I like it.
Me too. A lot of my diet is scones.
Yeah.
Cookies.
You an alcohol drinker?
Not very much.
Rewinding to MTV, so when you were doing The State, do you have any memories of when they make, how they do like, hey, what's up? We're The State, coming up, Rock Block, or PSA, or Rock the Vote. Do you remember doing any of those?
Yeah, we did a few. We did one on spring break in Panama City, Florida, and we did like a whole series of them, but they were like for dumb shit. So like Thomas Lennon wrote one. He was basically advising spring breakers not to drink too much because they may end up buying a forged Rembrandt instead of a real Rembrandt. Somebody's going to try to sell you a Rembrandt from the back of their car.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled.
Yeah.
It could just be a very, very, very good 16th century oil painting from one of his students or school of Rembrandt.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I feel like I have a memory though of like you're in the studio and it's like all of you like all posed and like one person talks.
Oh, well, those were sketches that we did called Hi, We're the State.
No, but like bumpers. You know the bumpers. Am I wrong?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
It was 80 years ago. I don't remember your memory.
Well, I don't remember it either. That's why I was asking, really. But you know how the PSAs, would you know those PSAs? Or their bumpers, you know, like with the bands. They have the band. Is this such an annoying question? You can go if you need to. No pressure, though. You can stay, too.
It's just that I don't know what you're talking about.
You know, when the bands are like, hey, what's up? We're 7 Mary 3. You're watching Rock Block coming up, you know.
7 Mary 3.
You know, you're watching, and don't forget, you know, our next album is coming out June 13th.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we did that. I don't know.
Because it was so hustle and bustle. I guess I was just trying to remember, what was it like at MTV in the 90s, you know? All right, guys, come into the studio. We're going to record a couple, like, what's up, we're the State. We're shows airing at 8 p.m. Check us out. You know, those kind of things. And you didn't even, like, get to write.
Hey, Kurt Loder. Hey, Cindy Crawford. We're the State.
Yeah.
Come check us out. Our new album's out July 13th.
Yeah, check our new stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get
Our
at.
new single drops with Matt Pinfield.
Yeah.
This weekend, 120 minutes at Headbangers Ball.
Ricky Rackman, Headbangers Ball.
Hey, come check out me and Bill Bellamy next weekend.
Did they ever ask any individuals, like, do you also want to, like, be a VJ or, you know, or anything like that?
I auditioned to be a VJ before the State.
Really?
Yeah,
What was that audition like?
It was literally what you would think it is. You go into the offices, and you go, "Hey, I'm Mike. Coming up next, 7 Mary 3."
Would that have been a good gig in your mind?
Oh, the best. But I was like 20. You know?
Yeah.
It would have been amazing. In retrospect, I'm thrilled that didn't happen.
Why?
Well, A, because we ended up doing the State, which was a much better thing for me.
Yeah.
And then who wants to be an old ex-VJ? Who wants to be Mark Goodman? Well, Mark Goodman wants to be Mark Goodman. He's doing a terrific job at it.
Martha Quinn?
Fabulous.
Did you meet a lot of the VJs when you were there?
No.
You just kept, there was no intercut. See, I guess in my mind as a kid I was watching, it's like, they're probably all hanging out. They probably all know each other.
Kennedy, you remember Kennedy?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to a sex club together once.
Oh, yeah.
We went to like a S&M sex dungeon once in New York City together.
Mm-hmm. This is the real alternative.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she was walking around with a fake name and a fake British accent because she didn't want to be recognized. I was like, dude, you're not that famous. Nobody cares.
This sex dungeon people aren't watching Alternative Nation.
No, nobody gives a shit about you.
Yeah. But they do now.
Sure.
Kennedy's happy to be Kennedy.
Yeah, I like Kennedy.
So I asked the question that I had thought out about the State PSAs. What's up? We're the State. Coming up soon. Check us out. Rock the vote.
What's the inspiration behind this podcast? Because it has a real laissez-faire quality to it. It's a little lackadaisical, and that's not an insult. I'm just trying to understand the MO.
I'm trying to find a connection. You know what I mean?
With all your guys, it's like, let's just come out, come sit at the table, and we'll fire up the smoke machine,
Yep.
and we'll try to find a connection.
I think I'm interested in the persona, and like, when does the persona come on, and when is it like, all right, now I'm just being myself? What are you usually looking for in a podcast experience?
Well, I like to come into an experience knowing that the host knows that the host is driving somewhere.
Okay.
Kind of knows where they're going, knows what's what.
That sounds like an interview.
Well, it doesn't have to be. It could just be a conversation. In this particular podcast,
Yeah.
it feels like you really don't know what you want.
I guess I just wanted to see what's Michael Ian Black having
We
to
could have
say.
just had tea in there.
Yeah, but we got to record it.
We got to put it on social media.
Yeah, we got to put it out there. I mean, you haven't done, so would you say this is the most unfocused podcast that you've done? Because I think we're finding some interesting things. You don't think that we found some interesting things?
Not for me to say.
Not for you to say, not for you to judge, or not for you to say that you've said anything interesting?
I have no idea if anything we've said will be of any interest to anybody. But that being said, I also don't think anybody's listening to your podcast anyway.
No, it's taken off at this point.
Oh, at this point?
Yes, at this point in the release, it has taken off, and people are really talking about it. They're like, now the Michael Ian Black episode is coming. I can't wait to see what he's got to say with Michael Ian Black. It's like, well, that was really interesting. Michael Ian Black was like, this podcast doesn't go anywhere.
What a fascinating guy that guy was.
Yeah.
Talked about his scone for 40 minutes.
That's interesting to me. The scone for 40 minutes. You know, because it's like an anti-podcast, like a podcast. It's a conversation about a conversation.
Right.
As an outsider, I really enjoyed this.
He's enjoying. Is it over?
No, it's not over.
Yeah, he's enjoying.
But it's been good.
Thanks, Evan.
I think people are wanting more content now that's not as like
Not not as punchy, not as jokey. We're not Kill Tony over here.
Yeah,
Right,
we're not. That's what I'm
exactly.
saying. Okay, if we're being honest, I don't want to do a Kill Tony, but I also don't want to do a let's get serious about the issues.
Right.
You know.
You want to have a hang.
I want to have a hang, a goof, a
But
joke.
why though? Why though? Do you feel obligated to have a podcast? Is that what's going on with you?
I think it motivates me to be doing more stuff creatively. It's a muscle, you know, especially living in Oklahoma instead of living in Los Angeles. You know, in Los Angeles, maybe I'm going up doing stand-up on a regular basis, doing lots of shows. There's less shows here, so doing this feels like it's a way to push whatever my shtick is on the people that know my shtick or like my shtick that I would normally just be going and performing for. And then also there's people like you who come through town and I can say, hey, if you want, no pressure, if you want to come do this podcast and do this shtick. But I also haven't really thought about how to describe that to people. And I think describing it to people, it's almost like you describe it, you could turn, I don't want to do that.
No.
Some people.
No.
I run a noir night, I like movies. I run a movie night here in Tulsa, and it's called just Noir Night. And we show an old movie. If you just say Noir Night, the people who like noir show up. I don't care what it is, but if you say, here's what the movie's about, you know, it's about a guy and his wife or whatever, and then
Suddenly they're judging the movie instead of the experience.
that doesn't sound like something I want to see, but they're
Right.
like, I like noir.
Right.
Noir sounds good, so they're like, they show up for noir.
You're a tastemaker, a curator. You're curating an evening that you think they'll enjoy. It doesn't matter what the movie is because they trust you to select a good film.
That's the hope, that's the idea.
So that's the idea for the podcast too. It's like you're curating a conversation with Tulsa's most fascinating individuals. We're not out here being dogmatic. We're not out here talking about the issues.
No.
We're not out here trying to rile people up.
No.
We're just in these streets trying to make connections between two people, which is sorely lacking in today's sniping culture.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Are you doing a bit or you mean it for real?
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, but I felt like it was a bit, but it also was on point. There's something in there that I think exists in an interesting place where it's like, we're doing a bit, but we're finding something interesting. And even doing the bit, the persona, we're riffing, but we're also finding something interesting. You know what I mean?
Why don't we call it Bit of Joshi? What are you calling it?
Here come the details.
Oh, yeah.
That was just the first thing I thought of, and then it stuck. But I feel like the details are coming, you know, and sometimes it feels like we might not get to the details, or some of them came.
What's been the most interesting detail so far? Not from our interview or our conversation, but from another podcast. Could I get more English breakfast, Irish breakfast tea?
Absolutely.
This
Yeah.
is good. And a
30 minutes,
a little carafe of milk to go with it.
What's been the most?
I mean, that's going to keep me in this fucking podcast longer, but it might be worth it.
What kind of milk specifically?
Just whatever cow's milk, whatever milk they had there.
How do you feel about dairy?
Fine with it. As a Jew, I'm fine with it.
It digests well?
Yeah.
Anything you don't eat?
For digestive reasons, no.
For ethical reasons, anything you don't eat?
I went vegetarian like a year ago, but I don't know if it'll keep.
No fish?
I have been eating occasional like anchovies and little like bottom feeder kind of things.
So that's also a thing where, as a Jew, you're like, no, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Jew is more in ethnicity. You can't escape that this is the personality.
You really can't.
And the personality informs the persona. I'm interested in personas. The other thing about like podcasting and discussing, it's just almost like, I don't want to say improv, but it's like we're throwing a thing in the air. We're seeing.
We're having a conversation.
You know that there's people here, cameras here, recording. So, like you said, conversation. It's not really it's more of like it's a performative conversation.
I guess so, but I have found in my podcasting career that although it can be performative and often is performative, there is also something true about putting a microphone in front of somebody's face that. A lot of times it actually becomes more intimate and personal rather than more performative. You'd think the opposite would be true, but in fact, in my experience, that's not the case. If there's an audience, then yes. Thank you so much. If there's like a live audience, then it can be performative with the microphone. But if there's no audience, like you're just in a little room, or maybe there's just a few people here, I have found that it tends to be more intimate than even a regular conversation would be.
How do you feel like when you go to parties and you see people and you do that often?
Not if I can help it.
So you don't like it
Not really.
because
Here's what I don't like. I don't like the dread of going to the party, but once I'm there, I'm usually fine. But the build up to it fills me with dread. How long do we gonna have to stay? Well, who's gonna be there? What am I gonna have to talk to them about?
and they come and they go, Michael, good to see you. You know, how you been? And
And then I walk away.
Do you ever just walk away? No. See, when I go to parties, almost any gathering with lots of people, it's very uncomfortable. I'm just worried I'm going to say something wrong. It's easier for me to be like, we're doing a bit here, but we're also talking, and it could get real. You know,
Right.
It does. I guess there is that confessional thing.
Well, you speak the language of comedians, and that the language of comedians is we're doing a bit, but it could get real. It's surface, and I'm going to try to say something funny, but we could have a
Yeah,
conversation.
the funny might be in the truth, but you don't dread coming to do a podcast.
No, the perfect time of morning for me. I'm starting at 11 a.m. and after this, I drive for 90 minutes, do a show. It's like that's a great day.
I do that drive a lot. My girlfriend lives in Oklahoma City, so I'm there all the time. I use that drive a phone call or just sit there and do nothing. Or listen. Do you listen to a lot of podcasts?
I have been. The podcast that's been really blowing me away is called The Telepathy Tapes. Have you heard of this?
Nope.
I would just recommend people listen to it without me telling you what it's about. The Telepathy Tapes give you a clue, but not really.
Yeah.
And it's, as far as I know, everything in it is true. I've heard the host interviewed. Seems to be true, or at the very least, everybody involved in the podcast seems to believe it's true.
This is kind of a bad question, but do you have a favorite rental car?
Yes, but it's a category. It's not a specific car. When I rent a car, I love a compact car. I love as small a car as they will give me. Just give me a pod, give me an enclosed unicycle. I don't care. I like a tiny rental car.
Don't you get worried with all these giant trucks on the road, especially in like places like Oklahoma, like if there was a wreck and you're in a tiny car?
I never really think about the size of the car versus the size of the fella next to me, because I don't have those kinds of issues.
Clearly.
On the drive, there's a bit of construction right now.
On a Sunday?
I mean, they're not probably working, but they've narrowed the road, so the drive isn't as pleasurable.
How long is it going to take me? More than an hour?
Same amount.
Oh, that's
90 minutes. It's just usually I feel like I can just drive and not think about. No, okay, this little stretch here, I gotta kind of make sure I'm focused. You know, you can't weave them in and out.
As long as it's not going to take me hours and hours, I don't, that's fine. I'm happy to pay attention. I may listen to a podcast. I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of 2 albums. Benz by Radiohead and Kid A by Radiohead. I never really got into Kid A when it came out.
2 of the greatest albums of all time.
It's tremendous.
See, I was a big Benz fan, but I was disappointed by Kid A when it came out too, because it was so much more ambient, and I was just like, "Where's the hits? Where's the songs?"
I didn't really understand it when it came out.
I didn't listen to it even when it came out because I was at the age where it's like too much buzz. I'm not going to be into it. Like too many people are telling me it's great, but I'm at the age now where I'm like, you know, that guy didn't really know what he was talking about. I should go review the things I was like, I'm not even going to absorb that.
And when it came out, I wanted to like it, and I didn't really, and now I really like it. I was behind the times. It was me. Now my ear is 30 years older and appreciates what they were doing 30 years ago. I probably think that whatever they put out now is shit. It'll take me 30 years to...
A Moon-Shaped Pool, their last studio album, was incredible.
Is it?
Yeah.
I know that Johnny Greenwood and Tom York have their own separate thing.
The Smiles.
This Smile, it's kind of Radiohead light or
It's Radiohead-
Radiohead electro.
Yeah, it's more electro. I don't like it.
You listen to it on Spotify. What do you feel? How do you feel about physical media?
I don't keep a lot of physical media other than books, which I love. But like I don't feel the need to possess CDs or albums or cassettes. I'm not enough of an audiophile to be able to distinguish the sonic differences in the medium. Although I do find that I have these, the Apple EarPods, whatever they're called. The professional level ones were on sale at Amazon, and I bought them, and they were great. And then I left them in a hotel, and I had to get another ones, but I was too cheap to get the nice ones, so I got the cheaper ones. Makes a huge difference. The difference between the two is tremendous.
The cheaper ones are crappier.
Yes, and it really upsets me.
Yeah, I bought some cheaper earbuds on Amazon and thought I was getting the regular ones, but they look just like the regular ones, and they're real crappy, and they're just sound like...
These are the official Apple ones, and they're fine, but the pro level ones, so much better. And that has been a source of fair amount of misery for me over the last week since this happened. Because there are times in my life, I don't know if you go through this, there'll be periods of months, maybe even years, where I don't really consume music at all. I don't listen to music. And then I'll have periods of intense music listening, and I'm going through that now, and I want to have the best possible listening experience, and I don't, and it's driving me batty.
Is it because you want to experience the music a little better?
Yeah.
Are you someone who takes music in? Like, how do you feel about music?
That's the thing. There are months, years where I don't crave it at all, and then suddenly I have a voracious appetite for it.
Sometimes I'll go in phases. Do you have things that you go deep dive on?
Yeah.
What's something that you did recently?
Because it's a conversation.
Yeah.
What's something that you've done a deep dive into?
Well, like an example, during the pandemic, I did a deep dive on film noir, and I just got real obsessed with it. I think a few years before that, I did a deep dive on Bob Dylan, and I got real obsessed with all of Bob Dylan's work, the story of Bob Dylan. As much as enjoying the music, I was enjoying the story. Why did this affect, the whole country? Why did this affect music?
Right.
If you get into the Beatles, but you get into the Beatles story or
Right.
whatever. I get excited about the context of it. So film noir became interesting to me because it gave a context for what was going on in the world, what was going on in America.
I would imagine as somebody interested in persona, both the Beatles and Bob Dylan would be fascinating.
Yes, I feel like any public figure has a persona of some sort. A newscaster, a president, even Terry Gross kind of has a persona. Mm-hmm. And I'm also fascinated about someone creates a persona and then it becomes the thing that makes them take off. Maybe their brain says, well, that must be what makes me great because it made me all this money, or people are responding to that. Then they merge and they're like, well, I guess that must just be me. I guess that must just be what's great
I was
about
having this conversation last night about Andrew Dice Clay.
I was just about to say Andrew Dice Clay. He became
that guy. And I was speculating that when he started, my guess was he was mocking that guy. And
it was like a spoof on,
yeah,
I think he was a sketch guy.
Yeah, he was making fun of the mooks that he grew up with, and then he just turned into that mook. Now he's just a dick.
Still rocking it to this day. Like,
That's the thing.
giving people shit in the streets.
That's the thing.
Have you met him?
Yeah, he was a dick to me. He gave me shit. He threatened to beat me. Or he threatened me.
In what context? Were you working somewhere? Or you just saw you?
We were booked at the same club in Naples, Florida. He was doing the early show. I was doing the late show. So I came in. I wanted to see a little bit of his act because I'd never seen him before. And I always thought, oh, Andrew Dice Clay, he sucks. But then, over the years, I was thinking, well, maybe I got Andrew Dice Clay wrong because I didn't understand that he was actually doing a sort of sardonic critique of toxic masculinity. I was the asshole. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go see Andrew Dice Clay. No, turns out Andrew Dice Clay just is a fucking asshole. And after the show, I'm going to the green room, and the manager says, you can't go into the green room. Andrew doesn't want anybody in there while he's in there. I'm like, okay, but I've got a show that's about to start, so I'd like to go in the green room. He's like, well, when Andrew's done, you can go in. I'm like, fuck. So I'm standing in the kitchen. Bus boys are walking by me. I've nowhere to, I've got a bag. I'm just standing there like an idiot. I'm texting with my wife. I'm like, Andrew Dice Clay won't let me into my own green room. She's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to go into the green room. I'm going to give him another 90 seconds, and then I'm going to go to the green room. So I waited another 5 minutes because I was scared. And then I walked into the green room. He's sitting there on the couch, on his phone, sort of grumpy old man. His ex-girlfriend, who is also his opener, is in there. And apparently she's also opening for me, okay? She introduces herself. She's nice. I say, hi, Andrew, I'm Michael. Nothing. He doesn't even look up. I go, okay. I sit down. After a few minutes, he goes, hey, to me, he goes, hey, I'm going to need you to step out because I gotta take a call. I go, how long's the call going to be? He goes, until it's over. I go, well, that's not really going to work for me because I've got a show that I'm going to do. So if you need me to step out for 5 minutes or so, just tell me. I'll go out and I'll come back in 5 minutes. He's like, I don't know how long it's going to be. Get the manager, like that. I'm like, I'm not getting the manager. I don't have a problem with you. If you have a problem with me, you can get the manager. And then his girlfriend, literally gets between us. We're going to fight. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is so fucking weird. He's like, and he says something like, you better get out of here. You're going to find out who I really am.
Andrew Silverstein?
Yeah.
You're going to meet Andrew Silverstein.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know who you are. You're Andrew Dice Clay. He goes, no, you're going to find out who I really am. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, are you threatening me? Like, what is happening right now? The manager comes in. The manager's like, hey, Michael, I really think you should step out. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, it's my green room, too. He did his show. Now it's time for my show, and I'm going to sit in this fucking green room. So it turned into this whole thing. He finally storms out. He takes his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, with him. So now I've also lost my opener. So I don't have, there's like 20, 25 minutes at the top of the show that needs to be filled, which I then fill with talking about exactly what just happened backstage. And then I wrote about it, and I mean, just like, what a dick.
So unnecessary.
So unnecessary. It's a green room. Like, we're both allowed in it.
I genuinely think you could kick his ass.
No, I mean, look at me. He's almost 70, and there's no way in hell that he couldn't tear me apart. No, as it was happening, I was literally thinking to myself, is Andrew Dice Clay going to hit me? I hope he does, because A, I'll get such an amazing fucking story out of it, and B, I know he's got more money than I do. Like, I know I could sue this fucker and make some money.
Yeah, he's like jacked or something now.
He's just like a mook, just like, he's just like one of those old man.
Like Steven Seagal?
Yeah, I think Seagal's just fat.
Seagal's just obese, morbidly obese.
Yeah, he's just morbidly obese. Yeah. But I saw some clip of Andrew Dice Clay doing stand-up in the early 80s or something, and he had just come up with this Dice character, and he's doing all this, like, making the audience be uncomfortable with the long waits, and I was like, this is funny.
Yeah.
This is like an anti-comedy bit or whatever, Yeah,
you absolutely see why, like, that became a thing.
Yeah.
It's just that it's only funny in so much as you're making fun of something, not when you are that thing. Like when he was selling out Madison Square Garden, it's not because everybody was like, look at his takedown of toxic masculinity. It was because that guy's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
that guy tells the truth,
And I mean, as a kid, when I was a fan, it was just like, he's saying pussy.
Yeah.
He's saying fuck. He's saying dick. I love the cuss words.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it.
And the same thing was happening kind of with like Two Live Crew and stuff like that, where people were just getting excited about bad words.
Yeah, but like Two Live Crew, I felt like understood the assignment.
Right. Yeah. I would hate to compare the
Two Live Crew were fully in on the joke.
Right.
And they never became the joke. If anything, like they became like Luther Campbell was like a super successful businessman, and like he never had trouble or anything, right? Like he was just like a cool dude.
I don't think so, aside from like the Tipper Gore stuff.
He was just like a dude making party music, where people like Dice, like you said,
they merged
because the adulation was more important than the work.
I remember I was super young. I was at the Comedy Store doing a set. He was parked right outside in his car, blasting himself, like listening to himself, like it was like, yeah, so, and it's just like he's blasting his own stand-up in his car.
At the
You guys don't
Comedy
do that?
Store.
Yes.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
But then I was thought, well, maybe he just did a set and was listening to it because that's normal. But like blasting it,
No,
you don't think so? I was
No, that's
being too
Andrew
generous.
Dice Clay announcing Andrew Dice Clay is here.
That's what it felt like.
And he's listening to Andrew Dice Clay. Who wants
Yeah.
to suck
I mean,
Andrew
that's-
Dice Clay's
Reaffirming the
cock?
persona?
Yes,
Getting
he's
into
like
it.
maybe. Well, I would think it's like sometimes if I haven't done stand up for like a little bit, I might listen to a recorded set on my phone just to be like, what was that joke? What was that joke? But he probably is more seasoned that he doesn't need to. He can just go out and like, I'm Dice.
You're doing the same joke for 30 years,
Dude, he ended his set with the nursery rhymes. He ended his set with the fucking 45-year-old nursery rhymes. I was like, what are you doing, bro? You're wearing the same sleeveless leather gloves. You're wearing the same fucking denim vest. Like, you're a caricature. What did you do?
Who else is someone that you think created the persona? The persona told him, this is why you're great. And then they were like, that must just be who I am.
Well, the guy who I wonder about and worry about a little bit is Emo Phillips. Because Emo is clearly that guy.
I've met Emo a few times, and I think he's not. I think he can break it.
Yeah. No, I'm sure. I know. I mean, I've never met him, but I know
Yeah.
that, yes, it's a
But
persona.
that's an amazing I mean, I love Emo.
Oh, amazing. I
Yeah.
love him.
Yeah.
But it's like...
Right.
It's
same
like you create this thing and then you can't break it. That's because when Bobcat did, when Bobcat was like, I'm not gonna do this.
Yeah.
Like he never had a stand-up career since then. But I know he's able to live with himself.
Yes.
He can be a human being, and I think that's far more important to him than getting up on stage and going, And I think he's grateful that he had that persona, but I think a lot more grateful that he made the decision to leave it behind and that he doesn't have to like live his life like that.
I think though it also, that idea moves over to like musicians, someone from the band Kiss, someone who does dress up.
But Gene Simmons like weirdly has multiple personas. Like Gene Simmons has the demon, and then he also has the public persona of Gene Simmons, and then whatever's behind that.
You fly American Airlines?
I have.
You've ever fly it out of LA?
I have.
I don't know if it's in other terminals, but there's this like rock greats restaurant at the American Airlines terminal at LAX, and Gene Simmons owns it. So it's got like the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix,
Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons.
I feel like rock musicians suffer probably less than that than other performers. Because first of all, probably most of the musicians in any given band don't really have personas. If you're in the news with Huey Lewis, like you might be the guy that wears the piano tie, and like that's your persona. But like for the most part, you just get to live your life. Like Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, all right, like they sort of have a thing.
Yeah.
But even like, you sort of figure Keith Richards, when he gets off stage, he's still fucking Keith Richards. You know,
Yeah.
he's just still smoking cigarettes and looking around.
Well, that's, I think, was fascinating, like with Bob Dylan. He was this Jewish kid from Minnesota, and then he's like, I'm a real big fan of this stuff, and you know what, I really like Woody Guthrie. Maybe I'm like this kind of guy, listen to all the blues stuff or whatever. And then that, you know, he's changing in and out of different style. Or Tom Waits.
I think
Tom
if you could walk out like with the guitar, you know, Slash can come out with the guitar, but if you're a comic just walking out with no instrument, looking like how you looked 40 years ago as a character, that's kind of a worse look probably than having a guitar.
Yeah, because the guitar is ever young. If you can play the music, that's awesome. But if you're Andrew Dice Clay and you're 70 years old and you're walking out like you're a fucking gangster, it's like, what are you doing?
Someone like Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh.
Ugh.
Like,
I have an interesting theory on those guys. I think it's interesting. In certain spaces, and I think politics is one of those spaces, sports maybe it's true for all sort of long-form interview and conversational spaces. I have a theory, because what I have heard about Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity is that, and guys like that, is when they're not on mic, they're lovely guys. Nice guys, considerate, ask you about your family. You know, if your daughter's going through and say, hey, how's your daughter? How's she holding up? Whatever. Because they know how to function in the world. My theory is that that's the persona, and that the actual person is the person who's behind the microphone. That they're giving expression to what is actually going on in kind of the sort of primal id that is their true person, and that's when they are most themselves. Letterman said something similar about himself, basically saying like, the only time I feel comfortable is during that 1 hour when the cameras are on and I'm able to have a conversation in front of a microphone. And I suspect that's the same for a lot of those guys, where that rage that they're able to express is actually a truer distillation of what's going on in here than the persona of, hey, how you doing? I hope you have a great Christmas.
or so, like the Bill O'Reilly clip that when he's on the tabloid show, fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yeah,
you know,
that's who he is.
He's like, fuck it, fucking thing sucks.
I do think cameras and microphones, I do think they reveal people.
I like to drive around with the radio on scan, and it will always land on a right-wing host. And there's this way that so many, you know, they do this thing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's that voice? Where'd you get that voice? Who taught you that? I'm hearing the intention and the cadence before I'm hearing the words that are coming out. And the intention and cadence is, there's emotional effort behind it, you know. So it's like, if I talk like, do that kind of thing, there's a judgmental, okay, you know, and you know, Kamala Harris or Kamala Harris, you know what I mean?
I think for a lot of those guys, that is the persona. So they have learned through osmosis and studying the really successful ones, sort of the cadences and the rhythms and the whatever and the outrage. And I think for those guys who are never sort of going to break out of the medium-sized markets, it's because it's a persona. Whereas the guys who end up being successful at it are the guys for whom real life is the persona. That's my theory. Because there's an honesty in that rage that you can't really fake. That's a very listenable emotion.
Similar question about the MTV thing. When you do the CNN stuff, are you going to CNN headquarters to do it, or are you doing it from Savannah, or?
Oh, it's in New York. We have a little studio. We shoot where the Drew Barrymore show shoots. So I haven't seen Drew Barrymore yet. but I'm hopeful.
I mean, are you meeting others? Are you interacting with other CNN people?
No, not really.
You're not high-fiving Anderson Cooper walking down the halls.
No, I wish. I am doing the New Year's Eve show, which could not be less excited about.
Why?
First of all, I don't live in New York City, so I have to fly to New York City on fucking New Year's Eve, stand out there in fucking Times Square with Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen.
And yuck it up and push a excited?
I'll fake it. Wow, this is so great.
Oh my God, can you believe it?
Well, I saw people walking around there wearing big sunglasses, and it said the year on them.
But do you think of it as a job? You're like, well, that's my job to be. Oh my God, what are you? And interviewing.
What am I going to do? I'm not going to be a curmudgeon about it. Which is, even though I'll be feeling curmudgeonly, I'll put on a good face and try to have a good time. I've never been to Times Square on New Year's Eve, so that'll be something.
That's a positive spin. I was talking to Lizzie. We were talking about Lizzie Cooperman.
Yeah.
I was talking to Lizzie. She was talking about Tony Robbins has a thing where he says, "What's good about this?" A thing that you're not looking for. And I was like, all right, that's a good way to look at things. So you're like, what's good about this? You've never been there.
Yeah, that is what's good about
You're
it.
getting paid.
I don't think I'm getting paid.
It's just part of the contract, or whatever?
To promote season 2 of the goddamn television show.
Fucking goddamn television show. Evan and I were talking about once. Evan's got an addictive personality. He was cussing a bunch. I wonder if that was also, you get like the dopamine hit, same like Andrew Dice Clay, where he just keeps cussing, pussy, fuck, fuck, and he's like, it's so exciting to fuck, say fuck shit when you're fucking.
It's fun to say fucking shit when you're fucking.
Fucking shit when you're fucking and the pussy and you get my dick. Yeah, it feels good.
Can I go?
Yeah, are we an hour? You want to get out of here?
We're on an hour.
Oh, well, we got to get you out of here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're great. I thought it was maybe later. We're doing great.
I know that there's at least 2 jokes you have where you say you like the song Mbop a lot.
Yeah.
Did you know that Hansen's from Tulsa?
I did know that.
No, I think their studio's across the
I
street.
saw that.
We've got Taylor Hansen waiting. No, he's not. Really here.
I've met them. They're lovely fellas.
Yeah? Did they say they're a fan of the joke?
I don't think they knew anything about any of my Hansen material, but they were lovely fellas.
They seem like lovely fellas.
Yeah, I mean, Tulsa natives. They love each other. They work together. They still got the band. I mean,
Talented musicians.
There's no better story than the story of Hansen. I say that unironically. I love those guys.
Yeah.
They're like wholesome without being saccharine about it.
Yeah.
They're just like good dudes.
Well, I guess I'm out of ideas.
So you wrote down Hansen? That was one of your questions?
Yeah, I wrote down Mbop because they're from Tulsa.
Okay.
And people from Tulsa are always like, Tulsa, we like Tulsa. Tulsa, you know something about Tulsa?
Right.
You been to Tulsa?
Right.
What'd you do in Tulsa?
Right.
Where'd you go to high school? If you're from Tulsa, or you know someone from Tulsa, where'd they go to high school?
Right.
Do you find that, where'd you grow up?
Who cares?
I do.
Hillsborough, New Jersey. In the news just the other day because one of those mysterious New Jersey drones went down in Hillsborough.
When you meet someone else from Hillsborough, or you're like, I'm from Hillsborough,
Yeah.
you don't care. See, that's there's a difference between that and Tulsa.
Because, there's certain communities where people have a lot of pride to be from. Tulsa's obviously one of them.
Yeah, we don't know why, we just do.
Right.
I think it's like, we got out of here, but we came back. Or we're from here, this is where we're from.
Mm-hmm. Tulsa seems like a perfectly lovely city.
But you don't, like, if you were to meet someone from Savannah, you're like, I live in Savannah. You just be like, I live in Savannah.
I don't even know that I'd bring it up.
Really? What about, where was the place in Connecticut with the Mark Twain Library?
Yeah, Reading, Connecticut.
You wouldn't say, if this one's like, I live in Reading, you're like, I used to live in Reading.
Yeah, that I would do. I have a certain amount of pride for Reading, Connecticut.
Do you still donate money to that library?
I just did another fundraiser for them in September.
Well, I think we can wrap up here.
Great. I've had 2 pots of tea, 1 terrific scone, a scintillating conversation.
See, I thought it was scintillating. I thought we found some interesting stuff.
I've been fully scintillated.
Good, me too. Well, I really thank you for being here and coming by.
Thanks, Josh. This was fun.
Do you have any idea where I can find one of those DVDs of the Stella shorts?
eBay might have some. Have you
Yeah,
looked
I
on
guess
eBay?
No, I haven't looked on eBay. I obviously they're not on Amazon.
No, obviously.
But I always liked those shorts, and I watched them all the time when I was in my early 20s, and the DVDs are hard to find.
My friends and I made these short video films, and they were made to be shown at our nightclub show, which we would do once a week, called Stella. And we put all those together on a DVD, and we used to sell them at our shows. There's all kinds of music that we don't have the rights to on there. We don't have releases from any of the actors, and it's a lot of really famous actors. So we can't release it in any legal way.
Yeah.
But there's still copies floating around the world. If you want to see, Paul Rudd getting his dick sucked or something like that, or Bradley Cooper, getting a dildo knocked in his face, this might be worth you seeking.
I mean, I've seen them all.
You have any leads on that?
Any leads?
Yeah.
eBay is my best guess.
eBay is the best
I'm going to go on
guess.
eBay right now and just see if it's available.
Now, you don't think if, say, someone like, we're the Criterion Collection, or we're some big thing, and we want to put the money forth to licensing all this stuff and getting the approval, you don't think all the, now well-known actors would be like, sure, I'll sign off on it?
The actors would, yeah.
Yeah,
But
the musicians wouldn't.
No. Let's see. Stella. All I'm getting. I wrote Stella shorts. All I'm getting is Stella McCartney shorts.
Yes.
That didn't work out at all.
They look great.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking about. Where could I get Stella McCartney shorts?
comedy.
You think Stella McCartney
DVD.
has a persona?
Oh, eBay. Yes. Oh no, that's the TV show.
Yeah, the TV show. See? Hard to find.
Yeah, kind of hard to find.
Yeah. You got to either just have, I used to work at this video store, Cinephile Video, and we had them there.
Okay, go to Cinephile.
But you want to own them.
Get yourself one of them DVD burners
DVDs.
and
Pass them around.
burn it.
All right, well, what are you still doing here?
I don't know.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Michael Ian Black.
Thanks again for joining us at Here Come the Details. This week's episode was directed by Viet Nguyen and Jeremy Lamberton, edited by Ethan Cooper. Our interruption panel is Evan Hughes and Jack Dominga. Our theme music was written by Brian Gerges and Dean Menta. This is your producer Rob Stewart saying keep it slippy, and we'll see you next week.